Hey everyone, happy Sunday and happy Walking Dead Day to everyone. We're going to do a brief live show this evening, but of a build up and a pre-show fun discussion. No spoilers or anything of the nature that way. At least we'll try to keep it to none. We'll have some fun discussion in the chat. Posted some of this in some of the Walking Dead groups on Facebook. And big night tonight, obviously. It's going to be a fun night. Episode 4, The Obliged. Looking forward to this one greatly. It's been a great season. Only 4 episodes in. Was very excited anticipating episode 1, and I think that might have been one of the softer episodes. 2 and 3 have been fantastic, and obviously forecasted for you this evening. Another great episode on deck. So we're just gonna have some fun. It probably won't be a very, very long episode. Who knows? But we're gonna, if it goes well, we're gonna at least wrap up at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That gives everybody enough time to. I mean, if you're like me, the old days of these days, but since the pilot episode, the whole week kind of wrapped around what was going to happen on Sunday. Make sure all the chores are done, supper's done, dishes are done. You've got to have a couple hours to just kind of chill and get ready, and then get on the edge of your seat for 9 p.m., at least in the Eastern Time Zone, where I am. That's when our show, that's when we watch it. Probably some of you watching here as well, too. That's probably when you watch it. So just give you a little bit of a background on myself as far as a Walking Dead fan. The family here, we've been fans since the pilot episode. And loved it, got hooked on it, and then had to binge watch a lot to catch up, because we probably saw it. I think we probably jumped in probably after the first season was done, and we heard about the hype and things like that. So we binge watched the first season. Obviously, it was a smaller season. You know, they didn't even know if it was going to succeed after the pilot episode, and of course, obviously, it did. Binge watched that, and then we were hooked. And the drama was great. One of the things I really enjoyed about the first season, maybe even the second and the third as well too, and I'll tell you why. As the third season is very special to me. But this, like, I'm a musician, so the soundtrack and the score I thought was as powerful as any of the actors, men or women in the show. They were characters themselves, and we're starting to see that now with season 9. Angela Kang being the new showrunner. Angela Kang has been there for, I'm going to say, roughly 30 episodes she's written, over the 27 plus, maybe more than that, since, going back all these seasons. So she's at the helm right now, taking this show in a direction I think a lot of us fans really want to see. That we need to get back to that, being scared at every corner, whether that be by walkers and actually a little bit more by walkers now, because for the longest time it was almost so easy, like the walker threat wasn't even a scare anymore. Like, it was like, oh, who's got it? Okay. It's almost like catching a fly ball in baseball. Mine, I got it. Before, it was like you had to do that to survive. Now it's like, who wants this one? And that's cool. I mean, that does go to show that the characters are, have developed the strength, and they don't have to fear about it anymore. However, I do think that's also a little bit mildly weak, the fact that there isn't the fear. So they're bringing a bit of that fear back into it again. And like I mentioned as well, the cinematic scoring is very, very important. If you go back, I'm not sure if many of you have done this. I'm sure many of you probably have, but if you go back and re-watch the very first couple seasons, and that, especially with where the show's going right now, though, the emotional impact is that score is very, very powerful. And if you go, let's fast forward through to up to the prison, and we've lost several people, Rick losing Lori and things like that. The soundtrack was very, very, very emotional there, and that scoring has come back a few times throughout various seasons, and it really pulls at the heartstrings. So it's very, very cool. So I think a lot of credit needs to, like, we all love our Andrew Lincoln's, our Rick Grimes. We love the Daryl Dixons and the Merles, and I mean, the list goes on, right? But we need to thank Bear McCreary, and also the music. It used to be Super Music Vision. I'm not sure if they're still the music supervising company. It used to be called Music Supervision. Thomas, and I forget his last name, he was in charge of that, and I believe they also did a lot of the scoring for Breaking Bad. So hats off to that department, Bear McCreary, especially too with the theme song. And if you're anyone's interested, the theme song I had at the beginning of the show here as well too was that's my rendition, recreation and cover of that classic theme that we just can't get enough of. And it is also sad, kind of missing every week. I don't know the actor's name, but who did previously on The Walking Dead. We've lost him. He's passed away. Was very synonymous, and I do feel very bad that I don't know his name. It's kind of feel ashamed that I don't know that. and I believe I've been told that Andrew Lincoln's been reading that part now. If that's correct, that's pretty cool. But just really excited about this season. And actually, I'm going to go back a little bit and just kind of give a little bit of backstory on where I was only about 2 months ago when some of the announcements come up about this show, where the direction it was going. I was like many people, and I jumped on the bandwagon of hate, saying the show is going to tank. Where it's going with, certain characters making exits. I thought it's going to suck. We're going to be done. The show's going to go down, whatever. And then I started really thinking about it. The show is kind of bigger than one person or a couple people. And with the writing staff that Angela has put forth, they're all great writers, and they're setting up leadership between multiple people. So there's not just, as much as we think that, we have Rick as a leader, there's delegation now. And it almost in a way goes back to the prison seasons, like in season 3, where they had the council. So even though they weren't delegating jobs, certain things couldn't be decided on without the vote of the council. And having the loss of people like Herschel, and actually Herschel in the real life too, Scott Wilson passing away recently. Both his real life and character life were both very impactful to the show. But we need that, I think, with this show. We need to get back to more than just one person, because I'll be honest with you, as much as, we all have our heroes, right? Whether it's a musical hero of me with Eddie Van Halen, or it's an actor, maybe a lot of us, your hero is Rick Grimes on the show. Even your heroes are quite capable of making mistakes. And I do think a lot of the decisions Rick has made in this last little bit, exits of season 8 going into season 9, sometimes you just can't put, wild animals in a pen and expect them to get along with the other more mild and domestic animals in that pen. And I'm not trying to label saviors as wild animals, but because they are fictitious people, I think I can probably say that without offending people. And I certainly hope I'm not offending anyone. If you're a Saviors fan, I'm very sorry that if I've offended you, but they are kind of a wild bunch, wild animals. And they're put into a group of normal society, or a reasonable facsimile of a normal family, and they don't play nice. And we've seen that. And I think, honestly, that could be a major detriment to Rick. You're seeing Carol, you're seeing, obviously, Maggie and Jesus, you're seeing Daryl, obviously, especially Daryl, not agreeing with Rick's decision to putting these people together. And I think if Daryl had his way, he would take them all out and, execute them all. But it's still Rick's say for the most part. And I think that's going to get him to some trouble. And I'm very, very, very sad to hear that. But anyways, we got a few people jumping in the chat here tonight. It's going to be probably a short show, but just wanted to have some fun and kind of do that build up, kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Tailgate party, going to the old concerts and having a couple drinks out in the parking lot, or whatever the case may be, just getting ready for your favorite concert. Well, same thing with Walking Dead. We're going to have a virtual tailgate party here. Internet tailgate party. R2R3 Locknet's here. He did a great show last night with a bunch of really cool YouTubers putting something together in the music avenue. Soda Pop was here earlier, jumping out for a bit. Black Vulture, Rams Game, and Rocking Dead. Nocturnal Butterfly is my beautiful better half, who, if you're new here to the channel, or if you're discovering this video for the first time, I know there's a few people coming into the channel now from different avenues, obviously with Walking Dead content that were never, part of the channel here. So you're going to discover some new things here on the channel. Well, she's one of the persons here that kind of makes this thing happen and makes the show flow fluid. It takes care of the chat, takes care of the good people and the bad people, and lots of love for the good people. And she takes care of the ones that tend to get a little saviorish in the chat as well too. So that you'll get to discover that. And obviously Walking Dead family, is a very, very big community, and that's something that we're going to try to tie in here as well too. And I'm going to share a little story with you. And this was funny, like us guys, sometimes we get these ideas that, think, oh, I've had this great idea, I'm going to do something. And then it's our wives or our girlfriends, whatever, that's like, you know what, that's my idea. Remember I said that? Well, here's how this happened. I've been doing the YouTube live thing for about 2.5 years, going on 3 years, I think, this January. And I started off with music. It was all music. And it was an accidental thing. I'm a musician. I'm a retired musician. And I'm into Van Halen stuff. So I started this channel, showing people how to hook up gear. And then it's blossomed into, very, very shortly after that, into strictly live stuff, interviewing all these live guests, some of our favorite guitar players and bass players and drummers and things like that over the years. And back then, because the family here is such a huge Walking Dead fan, Nocturnal Butterfly here, I'll refer to her as that. She says, you should do a Walking Dead theme show. I'm like, no, it's too much. I can't focus on that. I got to focus strictly on this. And because I can only do one show at a time, I said to her. And then hence down the road, I've started 2 other ones plus this one, so 3 other ones. But I'll kind of take you through the story a little bit. So about a month back, I had this dream in the middle of the night. I said to myself, it's time to do I'm going to do a Walking Dead show. So I happened to get up early. Nocturnal woke me up about 6:30 in the morning. She's doing her things, whatever, and I kind of woke up, or maybe I woke up out of a sound sleep, and I said, hey, I got a great idea. I'm going to do a new show on the internet called, I won't say, obviously, you know what it's called. You're watching it right now. But I'm going to call it this, and I think it's great. And she looked at me and she laughed, and my eyes were going all glassy and it filmed up and everything. I hadn't really even been fully awake yet, and she's laughing at me. I'm like, well, first of all, I took offense to her. I thought thought it was a stupid idea. And then she says to me, that idea sounds quite familiar. Doesn't it sound familiar to you? I'm like, no, what? Remember the idea I told you to do about 2.5 years ago? And I'm like, oh. So my bubble burst, thinking I had this great idea. But, obviously many of the great ideas that us guys think of are our better halves or the female role models around us have inspired us and given us that idea. So long story short, she gets the credit. And where Walking Dead came from years ago, go back about 2.5, 3, actually, let's go back much further. I don't even know how far I'll go back. Nocturnal may know. But before the Walker Stalkers, James and Eric had Walker Stalkers, who's like the largest ZombieCon horror convention out there. I mean, so big that Walking Dead is sharing all their stuff. I mean, they're massive international conventions. I was friends with those guys, and our friendship never departed. It's just that they got so big that they forgot about little old me, and that's cool. No disrespect to them whatsoever. They didn't need me anymore. But I used to write for their website. We started a column called Walking Dead. And what it started as was to focus on the music of The Walking Dead. Just as we started talking about at the beginning of the episode here, there's some great soundtracks. And one of the things I liked really about if they were playing, commercial music in The Walking Dead. Now, I'm not talking about, the music supervisors scoring or Bear McCreary score. I'm talking about the real songs, artists that you're famous artists. They were very, very select on what they used in The Walking Dead and what they continue to use, because if you think about it and you watch any of these episodes, whether it be from season 1 right through to season 9, they don't date themselves with soundtrack. So they don't pick a song and leave it there where it's like, oh, I remember that reminds me of the 70s or that reminds me of the 80s. It's very undated. And to give an example what I mean by that, probably some of you that are watching the show here might be Star Wars fans. A lot of us like all this science fiction and horror and stuff like that. We like a lot of that stuff together. So Star Wars, for example, we got like our Mark Hamills, our Harrison Fords, our Carrie Fishers, things like that. But then you go to the latter part of, they're redoing these things. And we got people like Samuel L. Jackson. I love Samuel L. Jackson, Pulp Fiction and and the other 9 million other movies he's done. But when you start putting people like Samuel L. Jackson in a Star Wars movie, it dates it. And it's just so hard not to possibly date a movie when you have an actor that's known so much. That's where Walking Dead has been very, very successful with music. They don't date themselves. Long story short, I think the first and only guest that we interviewed via the podcast on Walker Stalkers was Jamie N. Commons. And I forget the exact title. I get this wrong a lot, but it was during the Morgan Clear episode. And remember that one when Morgan lost his mind for the very, very first time of about 3,000 times? I think it was called Lead Me Home or Take Me Home. I think it was Lead Me Home. Beautiful, beautiful song. And, that was so very, very powerful. And through Walker Stalkers, I got to be very good friends with it. Started just as a kind of a fluke. Got to make friends with Lou Temple, who played Axel on season 3 of The Walking Dead. And that's a character that I thought could have lasted a lot longer. And we find that in The Walking Dead, we have these characters that potentially have so much life ahead of them, but story dictates that they have to go. And we lost him, to the hand of the governor, and that was very sad. But Lou and I remained friends all these years, and we I share music with him, and it's really, really cool because James and Eric had me on their podcast one time, And they had Lou as the guest. And so James says, Eric, we'll bring you in. You can ask Lou a question, whatever. And I forget what I even asked him at this point. I think I might have asked him what his catchphrase, you follow me means, or keep on the rattle. That was it. He always says, keep on the rattle. And I said, what does that mean? And he told me on the podcast, he goes, that means, like, keep on that guitar, man. Keep rattling that guitar. So that was cool. But he goes, oh, and so when James and Eric introduced me, they said, Lou, we have another Eric on the show. His name is, Eric, so-and-so. And he goes, oh, you mean him? Yeah. Oh, he sent, and I'm trying to do the best accent, and I can't do a Southern accent, but he's like, oh, he sends me his music, man. I'd like that. It was so very cool to hear one of your heroes that you idolize in a show like that, remembering your name and remembering the music. So we went, further through the years, we've remained in touch ever since. I've had him on the main parent channel here, EVH Gear TV, a couple different times. And now I've had him come back on to kick off Rocking Dead, which was about probably almost a month ago now. And I couldn't think of anybody cooler that I'd like to have as my debut guest, because we go way back. And Lou is such an iconic actor. Sadly, he dies in almost every show he plays. So if you're a fan of Lou Temple, you're going to see him pass away in a lot of movies. But one of my favorite movies that he didn't pass away in is Unstoppable with Denzel Washington. He's played in Rango, the cartoon. Johnny Depp was in that. The little, what was it, like a chameleon gecko, whatever, out in the desert there. Phenomenal in that. The Rob Zombie movies. He's best friends with Rob Zombie. So very, very cool. And that was leading me up until what I was talking about with season 3. That was one of my favorite seasons. And, it did draw out a little bit. But I mean, it's certainly a lot better when you compare villains that last a while compared to the spin-off show, Fear the Walking Dead. There was almost an absolute lack of villains. And if there was a villain, they lasted 2 episodes. So be careful what you wish for. You want these things to speed up and go, 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 go. Sometimes that might not necessarily be the best of things. And the Governor lasted quite some time. Now we're seeing Negan. We're up here to Negan. Actually, back at Terminus, we saw the villains and the threats there. Fairly longer, not longer than the Governor, but certainly a lot farther, more of a fear and a length of fear than Fear the Walking Dead. And now, of course, we're up to Negan, and we all saw what that was like. That was quite the fearful. I mean, he put the fear of God into the entire Walking Dead family, the crew. I mean, I should say the characters, and of course us as fans of the show. It was quite the fearful thing. You're seeing those guys and girls out there lined up in the forest, in the middle of the night with fog, and when you're seeing your leader like Rick, basically at the point of he is crying, you're looking to your leader for that inspiration and strength, and he's lost it. That put a lot of fear into us. And then, of course, what happened at the end of that season, and we had to wait the entire painful summer, fall, whatever, until the show restarted back up to find out who met their maker at the hands of Negan. That was very, very tough. And I'm going to open up some discussion here in a minute, and I want to ask a lot of you, and this is kind of where we're going tonight as well, too, with this episode. Would you rather see, if someone was going to exit a show, would you rather see it be open-ended, or would you, like, let's just say, obviously I shouldn't have to say a spoiler warning with the last season with Glenn and Abraham. I mean, that's pretty darn old news now. But let's just say, and I won't say the full of what happened there, because if there are some people that discover this video, they haven't seen that season. I mean, it was one of the biggest talked about things going. But but would you have rather have seen the opportunity for Glenn and Abraham to come back if, let's say, they wanted to leave the show, and would the writers write a little thing so they can disappear, or would you rather have what you had and have the time to deal with it and get over it and then continue to watch a show? I think that's where we're going right now, and I won't go into full depth on that. Probably the people that are diehard fans here know what I'm referring to. But do you want to see that? Do you want to have an open end so you can wait for it? And I'll tell you why I don't want that. Rick Grimes is in Andrew Lincoln, but Rick Grimes as a character is my favorite character on the show. I'd say probably my second favorite character would be Daryl. It's probably a tie between Daryl and Michonne. Carol, another great character that I love. I mean, I can go down the list. And then there are some that I don't necessarily care for as much. And one being Maggie. I think she's a very strong lady on her own. She's lost so much. She's lost her entire family. She's lost her husband. And, she's exiting the show possibly with an open end. And I think that's okay. I think it might be one of those things where if she decided not to come back, I don't think too many people are going to really, really have, the need for therapy for lack of sleep. There's no disrespect to her. I just don't think she brings that much to the show. And I say that in respect, but at the same time, I just don't think people are going to lose their sleep. I think if Carol left, things like that, I think that'd be tough. The Darryls of the world are not going to leave. It's a good paycheck for them. He brings in all the audience, especially the women audience and things like that. And the guys like him as well too. But I don't want to see that open end. Now, here's an example. I've been saying a lot of this on comments on YouTube. I've been saying that Breaking Bad is a show I loved tremendously. Obviously in the same wheelhouse, same casting directors on both shows. So there's a lot of similarity. There's a lot of shared things between the show. There's even some little kind of theories that are shared between both shows. How did the apocalypse start? And was it stuff that, Walter White and Jesse were manufacturing, Merle's goods and stuff like that came from those guys? Possibly. No, who knows? But there's a lot of similarities to it. And when Walter White died, and this goes to show, I haven't watched Breaking Bad for a bit now, for probably, I'm going to say at least 6 months to maybe even closer to a year. Watch everything from the first season to the last twice. And I was talking to a friend on, I shouldn't say a friend, but we're friends. We're all friends on YouTube. Some people like to fight a little bit more. Some people don't. But it was a comment. We were sharing some comments. And I said, yeah, I remember when they showed Walter White being zipped up in the body bag. And that was my mind telling me that. That was something that my mind told me, that when Walter White died, it was definitive, and he was zipped up in the body bag. And he reminded me, no, he never was. You just saw the camera spinning. Walter White's dead. And that was it. But we knew he was dead. And there might have been the 1.5% of the people in the world that thought, okay, maybe he'll be alive, maybe he'll come back. No, he was dead. And it was written off to be dead. There was no open end to that story. So that's what I want to see happen with where we're going with these episodes here. I don't want to be, episodes. Okay, we're going to have a big time jump coming up in Walking Dead. But let's just say, let's take a big time jump and jump up to season 10. Who knows how many seasons there'll be left after that. But do you want to be, saying, oh, is that our main character over there? Is that the guy in that van? He looks like him. He's got a beard. He's great. Is that him? Or some, I see another helicopter again, God forbid. And wonder if so-and-so's there. I would just much rather have that time to grieve by having a character taken out. Let's jump over to the chat and see if we maybe have some opinions there as well too. I can see it on the screen, but I certainly can't read it, so I'll jump over here. Stafford Studio is here saying, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. And Paris 34 said, do you think Carol is the one who meets Alpha and is shown the monster herd? Very good question. I don't know. That would be really cool. That would be very, very cool. And I think if anyone's going to meet Alpha, first and foremost, I think Carol would be the one to do it, because Carol is certainly one that's not going to back down whatsoever. So good question. Very good question. Thank you for sharing. Quentin James is here. Quentin James, you'll appreciate this. He's saying, hey kids, something I'll share with you. This is kind of boring to most people, that people like the technical side of audio, video, and things like that. My mixer blew up the other day. That's why I'm using new gear today. And Quentin, your Rode AI1 studio interface is what I'm using here to make do for tonight. So this is, if it sounds good to you, that's what I'm using. Black Vulture, this is a great show. Keep it up. A nice break from guitar stuff. Thank you. I appreciate that. And that's why I'm trying to offer that, because 98% of the people that watch my show are guys that play guitar, and hey, love it, man. Love chatting gear all day long. But I want to offer more content to other people. That's why I've got a couple other shows. They're still gear related, but I'm expanding as far as expanding their horizons. And Walking Dead is a huge part of the family. And I don't know why I didn't do this earlier. Nocturnal Butterfly, as I mentioned, it was her idea. I got to start listening to her more often, because it's a very, very good idea. Now the show's getting a slow start, but I'm not trying to win any race here. I'm not trying to get to the finish line before anybody else. I'm just having fun communicating with people that share passions, whether it's Eddie Van Halen or, modeling gear when I talk like guitar stuff, or old-fashioned guitars, or in this case, horror stuff. It's great. It's all communication, and we learn so much. And we find out that from all corners of the globe, we share a lot of the same passions. And here we are with that. So R2, R3's here again, as I mentioned. Michael Madej says, hi, everyone. Brenda Morgan says, hi. Hey, how is everyone? I like open ending for Rick, but the show needs for him to die. The ratings have dropped. Everyone tuned in tonight just to see Rick's exit. Yeah, and you know what? I in defense of the ratings, I've been seeing that it's all over Facebook. It's all over Facebook, dipping. But to be devil's advocate on the ratings, and I'm the same person who believes with that as well too, that the ratings are dropping. A lot of people aren't watching on cable anymore. They're not subscribing to cable. A lot of people are doing like that, canceling your cable, and they're doing like the streaming services, whether they be legal or illegal, but like these like the home boxes, like the Rokus and all those Amazon Fire Sticks and all that kind of stuff, and they're streaming things or they're downloading them. I think that's where a lot of people are going. I don't think there's everyone that has supposedly left has left. They're just getting they're getting the content at their demand, on demand when they want it. They're downloading it or whatever the case may be. So don't let those ratings fool you. And even with the ratings dropping, I mean, let's say what was their poorest episode? 5 million some odd people watching. Most networks, like your ABCs or any of your cable spinoffs or anything like that. ABC is not a cable thing, but any of your cable type shows, they would love to have a poor show do 5 million viewers in an evening. So don't let that scare you. But yes, there is some factual evidence to that too. Some people are leaving. It's gotten to the point where, as I started earlier in the program, where it's just everything is too calm and it's too safe. And maybe with season 9, I do feel that we're going to lose that safety feeling, and something where I think we felt that. And then this is not really spoiler. It's very simple. It's just observation. In the last episode, we're seeing Rick look over the crowd. They're having a campfire at night. You're seeing Ezekiel and Carol. They're enjoying some quiet conversation and looking. And Jerry and his better half, I forget her name. I have to apologize on that. Just smiling and kissing, and everyone's just like comfort zone. And that's one thing I think we should know by now is the fact that comfort zone. When you're in a comfort zone, that's when you need to worry. And Rick was just kind of nodding his head, didn't say a word, just nodded his head like he's like, wow, everything is coming together. So that's where there's danger. So who knows what that means. But very good question, Brenda, and or thought. And thank you for joining us for the first time here. And hopefully if you enjoy the content here, you'll subscribe and stick around, because I promise to bring some more good stuff your way, all of you. And I'm going to be having more guest interviews very, very soon too. So we'll be talking to some of the cast and crew and other YouTubers and all kinds of stuff like that. And Quentin James says, I obviously read the manual. That's a little personal joke between us. But it's, and actually, no, I didn't read the manual, but I just knew how to do it. Thanks to you not knowing how to do it. So R. Paris it says, I only mention that since Henry is Carl 2.0 and I just can't see Ezekiel do it. Yeah, very good point. And it sounds like that does sound like what they're doing is giving Carl's role to Henry. And I do think that's really cool about Henry as well, too. The fact that, his brother is playing himself, that's really, really, really cool. That's a family that's played many characters on the show. 2 sisters and 2 brothers, I believe, right? And they play the older counterpart as they get older. And I mean, who here thinks that the killing off Carl was a good decision? I mean, honestly, I don't know what happened there. I don't want to be one of the 6 million people out there that want to lynch Scott M. Gimple. I mean, I have reasons for not liking Scott M. Gimple, and I'll tell you why. It's like, here's an example. Well, first of all, I think he's done a lot of negative to the show. I really do. But the show has been still on when it was under his power. So he's done something right. Obviously, he's doing something right to keep his position. And now he's being elevated to the, God mode of the Walking Dead universe. He's a chief operating officer of everything Walking Dead. But he was an understudy to one of my friends, Glenn Mazzara. I become friends with him through the show. And Glenn was the showrunner after Frank Darabont. Frank Darabont was the creator. He basically envisioned the whole thing. And I'll share a cool story about Frank in a moment. And then they had a parting of ways. Who knows what it was? I think late into season 1, if not very, very early season 2, Glenn Mazzara took over the lead. He became showrunner, an executive producer. And Scott M. Gimple was an understudy to him, just one of his writers. And Scott wrote a couple good episodes back then. But when Glenn left at probably very early into season 4, Scott M. Gimple is elevated to showrunner, and has been there all the way up until Angela King has now taken over. And, it's one of your friends, right? It's like if one of your friends loses a job and then this other guy gets his job, or maybe he breaks up with his wife and then the friend is now with the wife. You're not exactly as much friends with the guy anymore, so that's why I always held Scott M. Gimple up in this, I was comparing him to Glenn Mazzara's writing. And I think season 3 shows you what Glenn Mazzara was capable of. Phenomenal. So, but I'm trying to play devil's advocate here and not trying to hang him out to dry on the line. I just think he took the show to a direction that it really jumped the shark in a lot of cases. Killing off Carl. Really, what was the decision there? I've heard everything from, Carl wanted to go back to school, and I don't think that's the case, because I think Carl, Chandler Riggs, we'll refer to him in his real name, him and his family were blindsided by that. And that was something that just really did not need to happen. And as you know from comics, and I'm behind in the comics now, I'm probably a good 30 episodes behind in comics. I was really up to date for the longest time. I just don't have time anymore. And unless someone can read them to me, I'm not going to read them. I don't have time. But the relationship between Carl and Negan in the comics was amazing, to the point where, I could see extreme jealousy between Rick. And you did get to see a little bit of that with Negan when Carl passed, when, Rick's reading over the radio and Carl's gone. And you could see for a moment, like, it really hit Negan. Think of the one episode when Carl thinks he's going to go kill Negan. He hops in the back of that supply truck and he hides back there, and they open up the door, and Carl's like with a gun, and it mows down quite a few of the saviors. And Rick could have strung him up. Sorry, not Rick. Negan could have killed him right there for that. But he was actually impressed, even though losing his men, that Carl stood up, and so he saw something in him even stronger than his father. Rick's stronger than his father Rick, that this was going to be a leader. So I think it was a very, very dumb move. I know I'm rambling a little bit with that. Scotty G Productions says, anyone seen the bad lip sync or bad lip reading videos of Walking Dead? Yes, they are really funny. I might share that on the Facebook page. And if you want to take a look at that page, it's a brand new page. It's facebook.com/RockingDeadTV. I'll share that on there. So that's really good, Scotty G, for sure. Brett Shar says, no, man. And Brett says, Carl went through a lot of stuff in his short years, would be as tough as they come. I agree with that 100%. I really think he could have been the leader. Who knows what's going to happen now? With the only other Grimes we have right now is Judith, and who knows what's going to happen there. They're the last episode, they were at the doctor's, getting a checkup, and there was a little spot, and people have been pointing this out, and I didn't even catch this watching the episode. Michonne had a little bit of blood on her arm, and I don't know if that came from Judith coughing or anything like that. That's what some people were speculating, so I'm not sure if there's a problem there that we need to be aware of. I don't think there is, but there's going to be time jumps coming up. So she's I'm guessing about 6 or something right now, 5 or 6, and maybe even a tiny bit older than that. I don't think much older. And then we're going to be jumping 5 years pretty soon here. So she could be 10, 12. Who knows what that's going to bring. Maybe she could be one of the next leaders. Also with Maggie potentially leaving here. I'm not sure when she leaves. I think that is potentially episode 6. Is that correct? For some of you that may know more than me, please go ahead and share that. But, now we're down to the Carols as female leaders. Michonne, obviously, for sure. And, she's kind of holding things back together at the helm at Alexandria, doing a very, very good job there. And I think last episode was really good, where she's basically planning out almost like a governing, overview of how things have to be run there. And, Rick's joking with her, obviously wanted to have a little bit of quiet time, and he's taking her pencil and flicking her pencil away so she would stop working for a few minutes. I do like the relationship between those two. I think it's been one of the better relationships. Obviously, it was rocky between him and Lori, and the brief relationship at Alexandria, that was a little awkward, and got them into some trouble there as well too. DVD Riz says, I feel Carl was killed because Chandler was getting unrealistically old, plus his acting was never great. I heard some things, and this is not factual. And yeah, I agree in some parts with you there. Sometimes the acting was questionable, and other times he was really selling it home. I heard some things where, he was looking for, his agents and his family were looking for more money. He was about to become an adult, and he could have had, a legal adult, I should say, and could have had more money as an adult actor. I don't know if that has any fact whatsoever, but I don't know if we'll ever know the full true reason. Paul Glover is here as well too. And Nocturnal Butterfly is putting on the link here to the Facebook page. If you want to check that out and give it a like, that'd be fantastic. Our Paris 34 says agreed, DVD. So he is gone. And I think the thing is, what we're seeing right now is that everybody is expendable. There's the word I'm looking for. No one has that plot armor. I know Carol probably is one of the very few. Even Robert Kirkman has said it. I think he said the only person on the show that has plot armor is Carol, because she was supposed to die way back in season 2, and look where she is now. She came from this meek, battered wife to someone, that got so strong, eventually was exiled from Rick's group, and look at her now. She's saved the day many times for the entire group, and a lot of members today would not be alive if it wasn't for her. But no one has plot armor. If we thought Rick Grimes would be here from day one to the very end of time of the show, look where we're at right now too. There's questions with that. So who knows? No one has that that plot armor anymore. And Brenda says, I hope we have a baby Rick. That would be awesome. So there's some potential of that, as we saw. You know, there are some things that were mentioned. You know, there's other ways to, how did Rick say it? To rebuild a future or something of that. And I won't quote because I'm the worst at telling quotes, re-quoting someone, but it was mentioned along the lines, you know, there's other ways to build for the future. And that meaning, you know, childbirth, having a child. I think that would be very, very cool. You know, and that would be the last true Grimes, because as we all know, everyone knows it's not rocket science that Judith isn't Rick's. I mean, the potential. I mean, I don't think they went on Jerry Springer Maury Povich and did the paternity test in the apocalypse, but it's pretty much evident that was not Rick's child. Obviously, he raised her and would die for her and may even do so. But now he potentially has a Grimes blood to carry on his legacy. So who knows? That's really cool, and I think we could see that. We're only about we're only about an hour and 20 minutes away from the actual show tonight. I'm very, very excited about it. I think we are going to see some carryovers, and the nice thing is, if there is going to be what's what I'm looking for, a cliffhanger. There you go, cliffhanger. At least it's not waiting from end of season to going all the way over to season 9 to wait to find out what happened. We only have to wait a week, which is fantastic. So that we can do, and that's going to be tough in itself too. 7 days is going to feel like about a month or two or 3 months waiting to see what happens there. But I think we're going to get a really exciting show tonight. Maybe they'll be doing some foreshadowing for Maggie's exit. What are your thoughts? Any people that are watching right now? Actually, hang on. Our Paris 34. He's going exactly where I was going to go. He says, do you think the helicopter relates to Magna's group, since in one of the trailers we see Father Gabriel with a beard speaks to them? I don't myself. I don't know if it's the Commonwealth. It could be the Commonwealth, and some people may not know who those people are, and I won't spoil that for you yet. But it's a community much further away, pretty much almost on the other side of the country. But I think it could be them. I don't think we're going to see that being correlated with Magna's group or Whispers or anything like that. But I do think it's going to have a great purpose. I mean, Jadis is obviously very connected with them. Obviously, she's got the walkie-talkie. She's communicating with them on a regular basis. There's speculation out there that Jadis had also taken Heath. Remember Heath? He's kind of disappeared. Corey Hawkins, is that his name? He played Dr. Dre and Straight Outta Compton and a million other things. He's really ballooning off as a great actor now, but he just disappeared. And there's some rumors and theories with that as well, too. I think Jadis traded him for some supplies. If you watch that one episode back where all the junkyard stuff was going on, and there's a really, really bad green screen version where you see Rick standing up and you see the green or the junkyard off in the horizon, a really wide angle camera angle, and it was horrible. I mean, I could have done better green screen than that one. It was that bad, and I'm not lying. I could have. It was that bad. But off to the far right, you see a small little RV, very, very small RV, just like the one Tara and Heath were driving, and it's not proven that that's it. It could have just been there for fun, but a lot of people are thinking that it was Heath traded off. We saw the confrontation between Jadis and Father Gabriel, and I'm sure many of you were probably like, wow, before the confrontation, the love interest there, and it's like, wow, okay, Father Gabriel, man, whatever, and good for you, boy, and have some fun, having a girlfriend now, and possibly a long relationship. And it didn't last very long. It was basically, the power of women. Sometimes they can trick us, and they think they tricked him. And look where that happened. And we're going to see where that leaves off tonight. It's going to be very reminiscent of Jadis and Negan back at the garbage compound as well, too. And that was actually quite funny. I've seen a lot of people talking about that. Remember, for those of you that have seen it, so Jadis has got Negan all tied up with those almost like cable wires, whatever. He's wrapped down to that little gurney type of thing. And yet Negan is able to escape that, get a gun, get all of Jadis's photos, and light them on fire. So hopefully she, I would like to see Gabriel escape, but if she doesn't want Gabriel to escape, I hope she ties him up a little tighter than she tied up Negan, because I think he might be able to escape that one. Let me see here. Nocturnal says, Eric loves giving away spoilers, and I do that sometimes, and I don't mean to. Sometimes I do, and I blurt them out, and I've offended some people before, and I apologize for that for sure. And Nocturnal Butterfly says they can trick us. Yeah, the women, they show that they're interested in us a little tiny bit, and our minds kind of go crazy a little tiny bit. You know what I mean? So that's what happens. But I'm interested in seeing a few things tonight. Number one, I want to see if we get to see any more connection with the helicopter. I'm very excited to see what happens with that. Obviously, I don't want to see the demise of Father Gabriel. I don't think we are. Well, no, we're not going to see it. We know that for a fact, because as you just mentioned a moment ago in the chat, you see him later on. You're seeing him with a gray beard, right? So no, we're not losing Father Gabriel, at least not immediately. And I have no speculation to think that we will otherwise. There's a few other characters that, if we did lose, I mean, if you guys and girls had to make a list, it'd be easier to probably make a list of the characters that you could expend. Or if you're trading, okay, let's say you're making your grade school, soccer team or dodgeball team. I pick this person, you pick that person, you pick that person, and at the end you want to trade. You got these people that are expendable, and you just want to trade off. You don't really care. That would probably be easier to do. I would say Tara would be a character that I could gladly trade off, and I really wouldn't lose any sleep over. And here again, no disrespect to the actor that plays these people. It's just everyone has an opinion, right? Everyone has a favorite, and you'd be surprised some people that would say, "Oh, Jesus is my favorite character," or Aaron is my favorite character. And people that you would like, wow, that's weird. Why would you say that? But they like them for some reason. It's like, what's your favorite band? Well, I like this band because it gets me through a difficult time, and I like their music. So each one of these, there's probably some people out there that Tara is their favorite actor or favorite character, but not mine. I could see her going. I didn't lose any sleep over losing some of the other characters, over some of the characters over the last. And Jesus, another example. They haven't really utilized him to their full potential, but he's got some coolness to him, but I certainly wouldn't lose any sleep. Now, Gregory, another example, when someone like that goes in the direction that person went, I'm not losing any sleep over that either. It's just there's certain characters that you need to keep on that show, and the big one, as we're talking about right now, is one that we need to focus on. This is kind of a D-Day, so to speak, this season. I'm not just saying necessarily tonight, but I'm talking about this season. And, the one thing we have to all come together for as fans or just viewers of the show, even if you're not a fan yet, is that sometimes people's directions for, exiting shows is not based on their own, and I mean, it has nothing to do with being killed off by writers or anything like that, or ratings or anything like that. In this case, Andrew Lincoln wants to spend time with his family. And, it's like some of these rock stars, that are out there, they're on the road more than they're home. In some cases, they're home for a couple days a month, or sometimes many, many months before they see their families. And that's what it was like for Andrew, living in the UK, shooting constantly in Atlanta and Georgia. You're away from your home a lot. Now, I know you can bring your family over and they can stay so much, but the family doesn't want to be uprooted either. So we have to kind of give hats off. We have to give hats off to him for his decision to want to spend more time with his family. Now, that's another question as well, too. So let's just say if when he leaves, they do leave it open-ended. And we talked about this earlier in the beginning of the program. So that leaving it open-ended, if he, his kids get older, let's just say the show's lucky enough to run 4 or 5 more seasons, 6 seasons. I really can't see it lasting that long. I'm just going to be optimistic. I can't see it making more than 2 or 3 more seasons. Breaking Bad, again, as an example, went off at a high point after 8 seasons, was it? I forget, but it went off at a high point. Let's just say that Andrew Lincoln just says, even the kids are growing up. I'm used to doing my thing. By that time, who knows what kind of offers have come in, movie-wise or television. He may not want to come back. Now, isn't that going to be pretty stupid as an exit if they just kind of like he disappears off into the woods and we don't see him again and he's decided not to come back? That's where I think an open ending is really, really dumb. Here again, I have no movie experience as far as writing and things like that. I'd love to write, scripts and things like that. I have no knowledge of it, no experience, no education. So I'm not one to speak. I just, as a fan, I think that's a dumb thing. If the actor does not want to come back several years down the road, is it a fitting exit? I don't know. Let me see here. Nocturnal Butterfly laughs about they can trick us. Brett Shaver says, yeah, I read stuff because I don't want to get hit with a spoiler. Or don't read stuff. There you go, right. Let me see here. Thumbs up from, I can't read the name. It's a different language. I'm sorry. Mitch Hammond says, with Rick gone or when he goes, I wonder if viewership will drop. I don't think so. I think a lot of people you're going to probably see a spike in the ratings right now because people are going to say, they always want to see a train wreck, right? It's like you drive by a car accident, people are like looking like this, and it's just human nature for some people. And so I think we're going to see a spike in the ratings, and I think you're going to get a bunch of people, maybe a few people leaving. And when I say few, I'm not talking 3. It could be hundreds or thousands, and we're not talking millions yet. But there's going to be a big bulk of people that will probably leave. But the diehards are going to be there, and then they're going to be telling their friends, who have now left, oh man, you should have seen what happened there. And they're going to be like, what? Because there's still going to be some good things that are going to happen. There's going to be leadership roles. The writing staff are no slouches. So it's going to be different. But I think honestly, they hired the right person to pilot this ship. This was a ship that I would say was almost like a Titanic that is going to hit another iceberg. And God forbid they're launching another Titanic next year. I almost thought that was a joke. But the show was almost going to be a Titanic where it could have actually sank if they did not put the right person at the helm. And I do not think, having Scott M. Gimple at the helm was going to be the thing that was going to save it. Honestly, I think it would have been more detriment. Angela Kang, it's great to see women in power, and you're starting to see that a lot more on the show. And some of the things that I learned about Angela Kang, and I learned this from Lou Temple, was that how powerful of not an actor, as a leader that she is on the set. She's out there in the trenches with everybody all day long. She's a role model. It's great to see a woman have that kind of power, and she is a great writer. Some of the best episodes that are out there have been written by her. Look up Angela Kang in an IMDb, or else do this. Type in the Walking Dead episode guide, episode guide, and look at them for all seasons. It'll be a Wikipedia page. And when you get there, just do a search on your page, Control F or whatever it is, Command F on your Mac, and type in Angela Kang, and watch how many times her name comes up. I'm going to say 27 to 28 episodes easily that she's written, and some of the bigger ones. And she's a super fan. You think you and I and your next door neighbor and the other people in these Facebook groups that we all belong to are fans of the show? Angela Kang trumps us in spades. Even if she didn't have the position that she has, she's a big fan. She's a super fan, and now she's got the power to take that super fandom to the next level. And I've never heard a person say a bad word about her to this date. So I think we have the person to do it. Now, of course, Scott M. Gimple is still her boss. She has to answer to him and Robert Kirkman and everybody else that's in the wheelhouse. But looks like it's got free reins to do what she wants to do. And there's been nothing questioned. I don't think she's been challenged on too much yet. So that's a great sign. The Soldat is Soldat 064. So I think Aaron is here to stay for a while. They wouldn't make him survive an arm amputation just to kill him off shortly after. And I agree with you 100% on that. And a lot of people are also saying that, and it's common visual knowledge that he's almost resembling and receiving as we talked about Henry receiving Carl's role of the comics. It's almost like Aaron is receiving or assuming Rick's role of the comics. They look a lot alike, the beard, obviously, the hand and things like that. So yeah, I think you're probably correct on that. And Nocturnal Butterfly says an open ending would be ridiculous, in my opinion, and that's shared as well too. I'll share something as we're getting ready to wrap up here. We're about 10 minutes away, and we've got some friends here on some other channels here that are going live at 8 o'clock, and I just want to jump off because some of my audience likes to watch them as well too, and I certainly don't. I don't want to rob any traffic. This is something that's really cool. I haven't taken this off the wall in quite some time. This is something that I got some years back, and it's the Georgia Travel Guide. You can see that. Try to tip it. Hard to see it. I'm going to get that in there. And what's cool about this, there's 3 signatures on this. And one here says, to Eric, Daniel Thomas May, who played Alan. And I mentioned that why season 3 was really important to me for many reasons. Glenn Mazzara, the showrunner, being a friend was the main reason. But Daniel Thomas May, who played Alan, who was eventually killed by the governor, he was pretty cool. I liked him a lot. I forget this guy's name, but he was Paul, one of the governor's henchmen as well too. I can't read his name on here, but it was Paul Hughes from The Walking Dead season 3. But this one here is one that's very special to me. It says, Eric, you rock. With love, Melissa McBride, obviously, who plays Carol. This is very, very cool. This has been on the wall for quite some time. It's a Georgia 2013 tour guide. Try to get it back here a little bit more. Bring it down. That was very, very special. I figured some of you diehards would really appreciate this. And I've got a really cool, I'll bring it down for one of the next shows, one from Lou Temple. And it's in his Axel character. And it's like, I forget, it's a quote from the show or something like, I might have messed with pharmaceuticals, man, but I ain't no killer. You follow me? And a typical Axel signed in silver paint pen to me. And that's a very big treasure. I don't have a lot of Walking Dead signed memorabilia, but those couple things are very, very cool. So it's awesome. So listen, I'm going to wrap up just a couple minutes before 8 o'clock here. I just want to wish all of you if you're watching the show tonight, and in many cases here in Eastern time zone, it'll be starting in 1 hour. So get ready, have some fun with the family, get the kids off to bed, or some of you may watch with your older kids. I hope you have a great episode, and let's carry on the conversation in the Facebook groups. And if you'd be so inclined to give a like over on the Facebook page I told you about earlier, facebook.com/rockingdeadtv. Share some love over there and share your theories, thoughts, and I really hope you enjoy the show this evening. And I probably won't do a recap this evening. I'm missing some gear and things like that. I was telling you right now, I'm not in my comfort zone with my studio at the moment because my mixer blew up. But I'll follow up with it this week, and we'll share some commentary back and forth, and we'll have a lot of fun. And speaking of, we talked earlier about women in power or powerful women and very successful women. I've got a great lady coming back for a return visit, not Walking Dead related, but certainly if you're just interested in, even if you're not a guitar player, if you'd like to meet a lady who's made a success for herself, guitarist Jennifer Batten, who's played with Michael Jackson for many, many years. You remember her with the big, crazy blonde hair, and she's played with Jeff Beck and making a great success on the solo tour. She's coming back on my other show, Helix Hour, next Sunday, November 4th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Pacific, and the 2 nights before on Friday night on the EVH Gear TV network channel. I've got one of her college alumni, Guitar Institute of Technology alumni classmates, guitarist Steve Lynch. Many of you may know from the band Autograph. I Turn Up the Radio, other great hits like that, turn it up. He's going to be back on Friday, so lots of cool stuff. Walking Dead, Rocking Dead, the Helix Hour, EVH Gear TV, and I'm going to try to put some Monster or Red Bull energy into my other show, Kramer Corner, and get that one flying as well too. It's been a bit of a slow launch, but when you're running 4 shows all by yourself, and with Nocturnal Butterfly here as well too, it's tough to give them all the love. So I'm really putting a lot into Rocking Dead here, and from what I saw here a few times here in the chat tonight, there's some people that are maybe digging this. So I will, as long as there's interest, I will put 100% of my energy into each one of these shows. And give me a subscription on the channel, would be great. And I've always said this on every show I do and every content programming I do, I will work just as hard to keep you as a subscriber as I did to get you. And that is my word, that's my gospel, and I won't let you down. I'm not going to have home runs every time for sure. If I get up to bat and hit a nice little single base, I'll be happy, but I'm going to try to hit home runs for you, and we'll work very hard every time. Let's just have a look at the last comments, and we're going to let everybody go. We're almost right to the hour. Lickmax is going to be sad to see Rick leave. Agreed. R2, R3. Thank you. A great show. I appreciate that. Thank you. For someone who does stuff online as well, that means a lot to me. Thank you. Brenda Morgan says, thank you for the chat. Very happy to have you here. New face here. And if you enjoyed it, I'm happy to have you here in the family of the channel. And stop by and see Jennifer Batten. I think you might like her. She's pretty cool. And R2 says, Jennifer is awesome. Brett Shaver says, cool, going to take off now, eh? Sorry, that's my Canadian impression learned from Strange Brew. No problem. I say that way too much, so you're definitely on the right track. And my very last Nocturnal Butterfly says, laugh out loud. All right. Did I miss Brenda's question? Oh, hey, I did. And I had it. Okay, so I got it. Thanks to Nocturnal Butterfly. She texted me. She lets me know. So I missed Brenda's question. What is up with the fire? Maggie and Daryl are going to see Negan with gas cans. Yes. Very good question. Very, very good question. And Brenda, I'm sorry I missed your question. I don't know. I remember we saw there's some pictures out there. I'm a member of the AMC Press Network, so I have access to the photos and things like that too. And I did see the one where you see the big balloon, almost like a mushroom cloud of fire. So I don't know. Let's find out. But yeah, they're walking off with gas. Is their intention to burn Negan? I think they want to kill him, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think we might potentially see Negan as a changed leader. He's certainly not going anywhere for a while, in my opinion. And I would like to see him become a good dude, as good as he possibly can. With Maggie being gone, obviously, going, we don't have to worry about that redemption of killing Glenn, things like that. So who knows? So I apologize. I almost missed your question, but I'm glad we got it. And so thank you, everybody. Go off and get ready for your the show tonight. Starts pretty soon, and I'm looking forward to it here as well. Got to do some last minute chores as well too. So thank you so much for tuning in this evening. It's been a great pleasure meeting some of these new faces and names. I'll watch for you. You got to come back again. And watch for links at the end of the broadcast here as I roll the outro credits, and Nocturnal Butterfly will probably post a link as well too. We have some really cool, only one right now, but a really cool Rocking Dead t-shirt in our Broad Stash boutique. And there's other cool stuff there as well too. All proceeds help the show. And in the course of November, in the month of November, which is right around the corner, everything we sell in the Broad Stash boutique, 100% of the proceeds are going to be going to Movember Canada for a lot of prostate cancer research and suicide prevention in men, all kinds of things like that. It's 100% of the proceeds are going. You know what? I'm going to tell you this. Don't even buy. If you're going to buy something from me, don't buy right now. I could be greedy and say, go buy some t-shirts right now. We got 3 days, whatever, before the end of the month. I want all that money. Wait, if you're going to buy something, buy it in November, okay? And all the proceeds will go to cancer research. So I would love to see you do that. It'd be fantastic. Just support the show and give the shirt away if it's not for you, but the proceeds will help somebody. Michael Madej says, great stuff, guys. Thanks for the show. All right, we are taking off right now, and we will see you very, very soon. Until next time, cheers and happy Walking Dead tonight.
Rocking Dead is brought to you by Design39 Media. Visit design39media.com for all your website, photography, and video production needs. Microphones for Rocking Dead are provided by Rode Microphones. Get your Rocking Dead swag available in the Broadstash boutique at broadstash.com. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.